Okay, CQ the old friends net, 160 meters. This is N4LQ, Steve and Shelby, looking for check-ins. Give me a call now if you'd like to join AMNet.
Good evening, Steve. N4LQ. This is K4QE.
Yeah, good evening, Tony. A little rough tonight. Little bit of QR Mary and stuff on the sides. But good to hear you tonight. Missed you last night. And let's see if we can garner some more check-ins here on the net before we go any further. This is N4LQ listening for check-ins. Yeah, there'll be somebody come along here in a little while probably. So what you been up to, Tony? You getting ready for the rainy night and all day tomorrow? At least it's going to be warm. It's 60, well, it's dropped to 59 now, but it was real close to 70 today. K4QE, N4LQ.
Yeah, Steve, yeah, we went out this morning and it was 70 degrees. I was out there in the heat in a thin t-shirt. It was nice. And yeah, the rains, always got to ruin the weekend. God forbid we could have a nice weekend. But I knew John had some things he'd been trying to get done outside, and he was hoping to do something this weekend so he could get some help. And I hope he got them done today because it's going to be a mess tomorrow. But other than that, it was a pretty crazy week. I seem to keep saying that. It seems to be a repetitive thing, which is not good. But this week was a real bear. So I was glad when it was over. My boss even said to me when I have my 101 with him on Friday afternoons at 1, and he said to me, "You have anything planned this weekend?" I'm like, "Nope." He said, "Good." and I wasn't sure what he meant at first. I thought he was going to ask me to do something, but no, he was glad to hear that I had no work planned for this weekend. So I guess that's good. Boss was looking out for me. Anyway, that's about all going on here. I've just been trying to unwind from this crazy week and calm down. So I've been a little bit wound up. But over to you, Steve, N4LQ from K4QE.
All right, K4QE, N4LQ. That all reminds me of the year before Y2K hit us. We spent a whole year planning and testing and all that for Y2K. Of course, that would have been in 1999, and we had thousands of computers to visit and test and be sure everything was ready for that event. And then when it finally came, nothing happened, which is what we kind of hoped for, I guess. But anyway, we had to do a lot of overtime work. Let's see if we can find some more check-ins. This is N4LQ listening. Wow, can't believe we don't have more than that. We had a pretty good little crowd here last night. Several people checked in, but I don't know. John was here last night, JPL, and he said, I know Tony will be along later. I'm for sure he'll be here. But he was wrong. But we did have several other people check in. And let's see, I've been working on the night kit T150 here today. I've finally got the cabinet painted and stuck the radio back in it and turned it on and got it good and warm so the paint would set up real nice and hard. And she's been baking all afternoon here, and I've been using it up on 75 meters, getting some good reports on it, having fun. And and then we went to a Chinese buffet restaurant here in town and had a good meal. And life is good, at least for the time being. I'm just getting ready for the rain, so back to you. K4QE, N4LQ.
All right, Steve. Yeah, I dragged my feet a little bit in case somebody wants to check in. Last night I talked to John on the 2-meter mobile. I was my kids wanted to go out to eat, and we went to Highway 55. And but we got back and they wanted to hang out for a little bit, so we did that. We did the family thing last night. I didn't get on the radio until much later. But so I'm sorry I missed it. And love to see some pictures of the rig. I don't know if you posted them or not, or if you've made a video about it, but if you have, please give me a heads up. I'd love to see your handiwork. Over.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I took a picture a while ago, and then I thought maybe I put that out there on the net reflector, but I see that I did not, I guess. So yeah, I'll upload that picture of it, and it's sitting next to the Valiant. Surprising how small it looks next to the Valiant. And light too, much better. But it just puts out about I can squeeze about 10 watts out of it on a good day. That's about it on AM. But boy, oh boy, has it got the modulation, man. It kicks up there to like 80 or 90 watts or something. It's got 150% modulation, and it really plays a tune. It's good for the amplifier. It wouldn't be too good barefoot, though, that's for sure. Well, let's see. I was having a QSO up on 75 with a guy in Ohio who was having severe QR Mary from I don't know, he thinks it's a church that's causing interference to his system. And so I got on Google and looked him up, and I very quickly picked out the church. It's just a block away from him, and I zoomed in on the street there where the church is, and on the pole is a great big metal box with louvers on it, and it's connected to the cable TV system, and it's got another conduit going up to the power lines, extracting power to run this beast. And obviously it's a distribution amplifier of some sort, feeding power into the to the system. And I just about guarantee you that's what his problem is. I told him about it. He's going to go over there and sniff it out, see if he can figure it out. He was about ready to go into the church tomorrow and talk to the preacher, see what he could find out. But I said, maybe you want to do a little investigation first. So let's see, K4QE, N4LQ, and anybody else that wants to check in.
WF2 Whiskey, Foxtrot 2, Uniform.
Gotcha.
All right. Good evening, Mayor. Good to hear you tonight, and hearing you loud and proud. And yeah, Steve, I agree. It's probably that box. Wow. Well, I guess he knows who to call now. Let's see if Spectrum does something about it. I hope he has the number for the FCC in case they don't, because they are certainly in violation if that's the case. Anyway, one of my other ham friends who still lives in New Jersey sent me a picture today, and the picture was of this house that I have passed 1,000,000 times. It's at a very busy intersection near where I used to drive. Well, my parents would drive through, and then of course I did once I had my license. Many, many times, because I have relatives in that area. And apparently this house was built in 1742. And he sent two pictures, a modern day picture of the house and a picture as it was. I'm not sure when the photo was taken, but obviously it was taken after photos became a thing. And there was an old car in the picture, a really old car. So I'm going to guess the picture was taken in the early 1900s. But it's amazing seeing that picture compared to what it is today. It was quite amazing. And apparently that house had been raided many times by the British or by the Hessians during the Revolutionary War. It was one of the only houses in that area. So I guess the family that lived there, they had been around. But it's just amazing. You see dirt roads back then, and I know the area right now. I know how the area is now. It's built up even from when I was a kid. So very interesting to see. There was something else that you mentioned. Something about something you did at work. I can't remember. Oh, that's right. Y2K. So I was a senior systems administrator for at the bank that I used to work at, and our data center was in Elgin, Illinois. Our primary data center at the time was in Elgin, Illinois, and I had moved all of our data warehouse systems out there about a year before that, and so they wanted a volunteer to go out there to take the system down if something should happen bad. There was a team of people that went there, but I was the lead for the data warehouse system, so I volunteered to be the guy to go out. And so I spent all of that weekend, New Year's Eve, and the day before New Year's Eve, and a few days into the next year, babysitting the system. And I'm so glad it turned out to be a non-event. I mean, we all kind of knew it was going to be a non-event after Japan got through it, and there were no issues. But it was a nail biter for a long time, and I was prepared to manually log into all the servers and shut them down. So it was. That was a strange time, but like you said, thankfully it's not even. And I have no doubt that it's attributed to all the hard work that people like you and I put into making a success. So there you go. I'll pass it over to my ear, WF2U from K4QE.
Yeah, K4QE, this is WF2U. Well, good evening, everybody. I don't know who else is here besides you and Steve, but anyway, signals are not that great tonight. Conditions are definitely not good. Steve, you are fairly strong. Tony, you are between a 6 and 7, I would say. But sometimes you get lost in the noise with very heavy QSB. And conditions were not good on 40 meters this morning on the Midwest Military Radio Collectors Group net. on 7264 upper sideband, and there were very, very few people who checked in. And also, obviously, many were away at the Hamfest in Dayton, and probably some other local stuff, but conditions were definitely not good. So with that, I don't know who it goes to, so I'll give it back to you, Steve. M4LQ, WFU.
Okay. Have any other more check-ins? Call in 4LQ now.
Kilo Bravo Niner, Juliet, Quebec uniform.
KB9 JQU. Gotcha. Okay. Good evening to you. That call sounds a little familiar. I probably talked to you. I'm going to put your call into QRZ and see if it rings a bell. And so you're KB9JQU. Yeah, well, you must have moved from South Dakota. Anyway, welcome to the net. We're kind of informal. We're a round table, and we just pass it around to each other as we get more check-ins, and it's good to hear some more AM on here. Omer, you're strong tonight, loud and clear, and so is Kurt, KB9JQU, wherever you are, and Tony is weak. So I don't know, Tony, have you got, I don't think you use an amplifier, do you? So you're just running what, 25, 30 watts or something like that, but it's, I've got you narrowed down here as much as I can. I'm copying you okay, but it's just, it just seems like you ought to be stronger. Don't know. I know you've got the Mercury amplifier there. It might help. Well, I know it would help, but we'll try that next. Let me go ahead and give it to our new guy here, and then he can just give it back to me, and then I'll start it back around again. KB9JQU, go ahead and take it. It's N4LQ. Steve's the name. I'm in Shelby, North Carolina. Go ahead.
N4LQ from KB9JQU. Good evening, Steve. Yeah, name here is Kurt, and I'm out of Sturgis, South Dakota, but I'm not operating from there tonight. I'm actually at my home here in North Carolina, just about 25 miles southwest of Raleigh in Fuquay Varina. First time I've had this station on 160 meters today, putting up a new antenna. And before I keep going, how's copy, Steve?
I'll copy it real good here. No problem at all. 5x9.
Roger, Roger. You're also 5x9 too here in Fuquay Varina. And we're running a Yaesu XGDX10. We have it pushing about 10 watts into the Elecraft KP8500, which is, well, it's not, on a carrier, it's 200 watts. I think that's okay. You can advise me if that's right or not. I don't spend much time on AM, other than when I do Parks on the Air activations out in South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana, etc. I do like to get on 10 meter and 6 meter AM occasionally, and it's a hoot. I often get folks back here on the East Coast and even including contacts in Hawaii. So with that, that's a good enough introduction for now, Steve. Oh, KR4I, Chris, was in one of your nets a few days ago and sent an email to all of the local folks here, and it's what kind of got me interested in getting on top end and just being able to get the last band out of this radio that I haven't been able to work. As for LQ, please take it, KB9JQ unit.
Okay, Kurt, very good. I got everything but the amplifier. Which amplifier did you say you're using?
I believe it's the one you have, the Elecraft KPA500, Kilo Papa Alpha 500. I have it paired with the Elecraft KAT 500, which they proudly call the power combo. Over.
Okay, yeah, Roger. Yeah, 200 watts is way too much for that. You're probably going to blow it out eventually. I wouldn't go any higher than somewhere between 100 and 150, about 150 watts max on that. It's only rated for 500, and you probably better take your drive down a little bit on that FTDX. I think you said a 10. So yeah, now I'm running AL82 Ameritron using a pair of 3-500s, and carrier is right at 300 watts carrier power, and the rig is a 1953 or so, or maybe a little older model LMAC AF67. Everything's tube type here right now, and we like to run boat anchors. So real good. Let's go ahead and start it around again. Here's the list as I have it. First me, N4LQ, and then K4QE, Tony, and then WF2U, Mir, and then KB9JQU, Kurt. And let's check real quick to see if anybody else wants to check in. Okay, Tony, go ahead and take K4QE, N4LQ.
All right. Well, hello to Kurt. Good to hear you. KB9JQU in the group. This is K4QE. Kurt, I'm about halfway between Steve and you, a little closer to Raleigh. I live in a town called Liberty, which is just south of Greensboro, a little south, south and a little east. Very familiar with the Raleigh area. My office is in Cary. I've been working for my company for 17 years, but the last 3 years I've been working from home. So for the most part, I go out to the office every once in a while. But so very familiar with the area. Steve, I'm running 300 watts of carrier here, so I can only attribute it to propagation. But I mean, you're plenty strong here. You're about 10 to 20 over here. My ear's not quite as strong as you are. He's about S8 to S9, but I hear both of you fine. I hope nothing's wrong with the antennas here. Yeah, I'm going to be just not modulate here for a second. Yeah, the watt meter is showing about 160 watts of carrier, 160 watts. So not hitting the amplifier too hard, but I would think you'd hear me better than that. Anyway, I'll send it over to my ear, WF2U from K4QE.
Roger, K4QE. And the group, this is WF2U. Well, Tony, it's the same thing. You're not very weak, but sometimes you go down to the noise with a QSB. There is a relatively rapid QSB going on, and the noise level is a little elevated from the other day. Well, I guess if the rain is coming, actually it's been raining lightly on and off for the last couple of hours. And Kurt, welcome to the little group here, KB9JQU. The name here is Mayor Mike Echo India Romeo, and I'm in the Landrum, South Carolina area. I'm not in town. I'm in Greenville County, but pretty close to town. And running a complete military station. From soup to nuts, all original cables set up and mount. It's the 1950s AN/GRC-19, which comprises of a T195 transmitter, putting out 100 watt carrier on AM, and The system receiver is a R392, and running it into a end-fed half-wave antenna about 45 feet, and the station gets fed from a 60 amp 28 volt military switching supply. So with that, go ahead, see how you. Oh yeah, okay. You are about S8, and also you're taking dips into the noise sometimes. QSB is relatively pretty bad. Steve, you are much more stable. QSB on you does not run that deep. So JB9JQU, this is Whiskey Foxtrot 2 Uniform.
Let me see if I got it. Whiskey Foxtrot 2 Uniform from KB9JQU. Well, thank you very much there, Mears. I copied most of that. I have a little difficulty on your signal. Tony, got you 5.9 as well. You're as strong as Steve, just very similar. And Steve, thank you so much for the reminding me about the power level. I knew AM was a little different animal, and I've got it now down to where the amp is just, it's not peaking more than 225 watts here. So let me know if that improved it. I'm also, like Mir, I'm running on an end-fed half-wave. I'm using a 75 to 1 transformer, and would be interested to know what Mir is using when he gets his next turn there. Go ahead, let's see, N4LQ. Please go ahead, Steve, KB9JQU in the group.
Okay, this is N4LQ. Do we have anybody else that'd like to check in? Go ahead. Okay, very good. Well, Kurt, the general rule on this is that your carrier power should be your carrier power would be 1/4 of your PEP. So if your carrier power was 200 watts, then 4 times that would be 800, and therefore not only would you be probably flat topping, but you'd probably be making the lifespan of your transistors in that amp very short. So 100 would be entirely safe. That would be 400 watts PEP, and then sometimes if your modulation percentage is a little higher than 100%, then you would be even higher than 400. So I wouldn't go over 125 watts of resting carrier, and then just let the audio take care of the rest. And fine on the antenna here is the same basic thing. End-fed half-wave. Mine starts next to the shack here. I've got the transformer mounted on a wood fence, and it goes straight vertical for 100 feet up to the top of a pine tree, and then across the backyard at 100 feet to another tree. And that's pretty much it. I have a pretty beefy choke on the coax right there at the transformer, and then a 25-foot long counterpoise. So it's isolated RF-wise from ground, and just that little counterpoise supplies enough displacement current to satisfy Mr. Maxwell and his laws. The ratio on mine is 100 to 1. I've got three turns on the primary and 30 on the secondary, and that's about a 5,000 ohm impedance on that thing. So that works out pretty good. And you know, when my antennas started making those, they started out at 49 to 1 for the 160 version, and they finally caught on and raised it to 75. That's the reason is because the lower the antenna in respect to a wavelength, the higher the impedance on the end. It's kind of the opposite of a center-fed antenna. So that's the story there. Now, let's see, Tony, I was watching your signal carefully. Your signal strength is okay. You were 30 over, and so was Mir 30 over. But when Mir came on, he about blew my speakers out because he's got at least 100%, maybe more, modulation, and I suspect your modulation just doesn't have any kick to it, I guess. And of course, he's running that old military rig, and it's probably peaking up at the voice frequencies really, really strong. And I'm sure that your audio is probably textbook perfect, and Mir's is probably more ear-splitting communication quality, but it does punch through. You can go back and listen to the live stream sometime if you get a chance, and you'll hear what I mean. That's probably just a matter of tweaking up your EQ there on that cheap little rig of yours. Anyway, hopefully that helped. And I know you had a rough day. I hate to give you bad news like that, but I think it'll help out. Well, I'll check one more time, see if anybody else wants to check in. Go ahead. Yep, nothing heard. Go ahead, Tony. K4QE, N4LQ.
All right, Steve. No, I appreciate the report about the audio. My peaks are around 500, little between 500 and 600 watts. So that's about where I'm given my carrier level. It's probably not 100% modulation, but I don't have a modulation meter here to be able to tell me exactly what it is. And the ALC meter on this rig isn't going to help me either. I'm kind of stuck. I don't know exactly how high to adjust this and make it sound better. So I will try listening to myself on an SDR receiver and see if I can get it to sound a little louder. Anyway, that's the deal from here. Over to you, my ear. WF2U in the group from K4QE.
K4QE and the group, this is WF2U. This time 100% copy, Tony, and blasting in here. I'm sitting here with noise canceling headset that is part of the GRC9 system because I can't use a speaker because of the very loud fans. Are actually blowers inside the T195. There's now blowing here through the 4CX250. And now I think they are working at something like 8,000 RPM. Tiny little things, but very loud. Anyway. And of course, the audio is tailored to voice communication quality, especially that I'm using the carbon mic that also is specified for this radio. Anyway, but it's basically conditioned because I should hear Kurt much better as well than again, sometimes, like I would say about the 70 okay, Steve explained what antenna I'm using as well. Same thing. The 160 meter instead halfway. So back to you. See how you copy. JQ, this is WF2U.
WF2U from KB9JQU. Very good. Very difficult for me to copy Mier there in Greenville. I think it is South Carolina. Steve, appreciate the information there on the. I remember that formula after you said it about calculating your drive. And let me just stop talking for a second. Yeah, we're right around 100 watts there. So we're in a pretty safe zone right here. I possibly could pick it up maybe one more drive watt, but it doesn't sound like that's needed tonight. And interesting on your antenna. So you have, I do remember watching the YouTube recording and you explaining the how you wound and had a 100 to 1. And so you do run a. Is it ferrite leads? How do you do I assume it's a common mode choke you do at the feed line going into the transformer. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that on the next go around. N4LQ from KB9JQU in the group.
Yeah, okay. KB9JQU N4LQ. Well, for many years, I had the transformer grounded. I've got a fairly decent ground rod out here, a couple of ground rods right under the transformer, and then I've got a wire going over to the chain link fence and around the backyard and all that stuff. But I'm convinced that doesn't really do much as far as signal goes. Just go for lightning protection. But you know, you can actually pick up noise off a ground rod. I have had that problem before, and I was getting it here, and I thought, well, let me try this. So I just isolated the ground RF-wise, and of course the coax is still grounded. So what I've got is, let's see, a 31 core, 240-31 core, and a 240-75 mix core. And there's about 8 turns around each one of them of coax, and that's RG400 coax. It's Teflon coax. It can handle anything, really. It can handle tremendous amount of heat and about 7,000 watts of RF, and it's the same size as RG58. So you can put a lot of turns around a little core that way and get a lot of a pretty high impedance even here on 160. So coming out of I just screwed that piece of coax, which was probably about 8 feet, maybe something like that. I just screwed it into the bottom of the transformer, wrapped 8 turns around the first core, came out of it, wrapped 8 turns more around the next core, and then hooked it to my big coax into the shack. And on the shack side of that coax, well, let me put it this way: on the shack side of the cores there of the choke, I put a ground clamp, that's used for like going around a ground rod. You can get those at Lowe's, and it clamps right around the PL259s, and I fasten that down tight and then hook my ground wire to that. So the ground is isolated from RF, and or the antenna is isolated from the coax. So it acts like a decoupling choke. And the noise went away, and I don't really expect it made much difference, if any, on the signal being radiated, but it may have helped the noise. I haven't really, taken it off, put it back on enough to prove anything. the easiest thing for me to do would be just take a jumper wire and go around it temporarily to see what the difference really is. But I didn't. I just figured I'd leave it like that. Anyhow, I hope that answers the question. And the more of those cores you put in series, it's additive, just like a series resistors. It's additive, and you don't want to stack those cores. You want to just put them in series. And yeah, Tony, your signal did come up some. There is a condition going on right now, I believe. It's just, but, and I don't know what you can do as far as EQ goes. I think that rig's just like the rest of them. I think it's got a bass and treble, but I have found that on AM it helps to have more treble than it does bass to cut through. And bass is actually a distractor. It seems to sort of burn up a lot of power for nothing, you know. And I don't know if I could tailor it. I would try to peak it right at between 2,500 and 3,000 hertz, and that would bring out the voice frequencies that we need to punch through this garbage. It's getting pretty rough. That AM broadcaster down on 1860 is just, you know, he's got sidebands just all over us, and he's pretty loud tonight. The band is in good shape. 80 up there was crazy a while ago. I was talking to a guy in New Jersey and another guy in Florida and another guy up in Ohio, all at the same time in a round table, and we all had good signals. It's just fabulous conditions. So back she comes, Tony. K4QE, N4LQ.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, I have the bass set at 0 and the treble set at +5, which is the maximum that can go on this radio. I used to run the bass at 1, but I don't know if you remember, a couple weeks ago there was an older gentleman who logged in here with us one night, and I don't remember his name offhand. I probably can find him in my list here, but I think it was Larry, K3LQB. I'm not certain about that. But he and I were on here for a while after the net was over, and he helped me adjust the audio, and he said that this was the best that it found, with the treble at +5 and the bass at 0. I have no other control over the tone other than that, so I don't have any sort of EQ device to increase the response at specifically at 2,500 hertz or so. So what I got is what I got. The only other thing I can change is the microphone. And I'm using a Heil PR781 here. And this thing is supposed to have a peak at around, I think, 2,400 hertz? I think that's what it is. So I think it's about the best I can do. I mean, I could try to increase the mic gain a little bit, but I'm a little leery about doing that without knowing exactly how the modulation looks. I don't have, like I said, I don't have a modulation meter. I should probably invest in that REA thing that WA1QIX makes, the software and the sensor, and that way I can see exactly what's going on here. Be a worthwhile investment no matter what. So maybe I will do that. Over to you, Mayor. WX2U from K4QE.
Right, K4QE. This is WX2U. Tony, this time you came in much better than before. I didn't miss one word. And at times you were really strong. So that's definitely an improvement. And Steve, you're holding. I mean, from the beginning until your last transmission, your signal strength didn't change at all. A little bit ups and downs from QSB, but nothing significant. And Kurt, I think towards the end of your transmission, you you came out even more with your signal out of the noise. So I really didn't have to even strain to copy you. Anyway, nothing much to add. I'm just working on my Concept G76. Cleaned it up a little bit. It gathered dust in the 2.5 years that it was standing in storage, and I haven't used it. And I have to pull all the knobs because I have to pull the panel to put the meter back. As it was in storage, I found the glass from the meter on the bottom of the cabinet. I guess the adhesive just gave up after all this time, and so I have to remount it again with a new adhesive, except I can't get to the screws without I managed to unscrew everything, but there is no way I can put the nuts on the other side because it's a false panel behind the real front panel. So I have to pull that off. Not too bad. I assume it shouldn't take me more than an hour and a half to put everything, to pull everything off and then put it back. And anyway, so Kurt, I hope you still copying me. And back to you there. KB9 JQU, this is WF2.
WF2U from KB9 JQU. I do still copy you, Mir. It's a little bit just challenging. I just realized why, and that there's the competing signal about 4 kilocycles below you. And that is unfortunately what was competing with you there, and now I got it figured out. And well, very good. Great information, gentlemen. And I mean, you're... Tony, I don't know what you sound like in real life, but in my headphones here, you sound really good audio to me. Of course, it always helps to know what someone sounds like in real life. So, and Steve, I realize I'm going to go watch this live stream and see what my station is doing as well. And I appreciate you recording that and doing that. That's very nice. And so this net does meet. Is it every week, every day of the week at 8 p.m. on 160 meters? Because I believe you also do nets, AM nets on 75 as well as 6 meters, I think. I know a good friend of mine, KC4 PHJ, Alex, he has mentioned your 6 meter AM net to me on a couple occasions. So that might be where you've heard my call before. Is what I'm possibly thinking, Steve. N4LQ, is go ahead and pick it up. KB9 JCU in the group.
Okay, it's N4LQ. Anybody else want to check in? Come now. Okay, well, let's see. 8 p.m. Every night. That's what we've been doing here, Kurt. So just tune us in and join us. Yeah, listen to the live stream. If I had a choice on your rig, and I know it's complicated, the ASUs and their parametric EQs, that's a dilly to deal with. But I would raise the mids and the treble up and lower the bass. I think that is separate for every mode, so you can tailor AM and sideband separately, as I recall on those. I think I'm right in saying that. So you've got that advantage over ICOM, except it is complicated. And I've been there. I know what you're dealing with. And Tony, I tell you what, I just bet you, if you would go out, and you may already have one, just get yourself a D104 amplified mic and wire that up for that rig. That starts you out in the right foot. That puts the voice frequencies right in there where you need it. And that's what I've got hooked to my 7610 is a D104 power mic. And boy, I'll tell you, it makes a difference. And people said, man, you sound like you turned on an amplifier or something. And it seems to have more effect than just mic gain or messing with the bass and treble. It's just, they really did a good job when they designed that. And by the way, Aesthetic, the company that made that was designed or invented in 1931 and the company was started by these two hams, and they needed a microphone tailored for voice operation, and that was it, and that's been that way ever since. And of course they added the amplifier, but it still peaks out right at 3,000, which seems kind of high, but unfortunately ICOM, they pretty much cut off their audio above 3,000 cycles, and so it kind of hurts the cause a bit for AM. And Mir, glad you're making progress on the 76. Anxious to hear it again. And by the way, I got the solder blob out of the variable tuning capacitor on the T150. And that thing was stuck. I could not budge it with a screwdriver, and it was a big blob down in there. It was shorting out some of the plates in the stator. I took my soldering iron with a pretty small tip, and I stuck it in there, and I held it until that blob got nice and loose. And then I lifted up one corner of the rig and let it drop. And that thing, the whole mess just fell out, cooled off, and rolled out the chassis. So it's gone. And immediately, I got my grid drive. My grid drive on the final was only about 2 mils. And after I did that, it jumped right back up to, I can go over 6 mils. Now I have to detune it to keep it down. So there's something about that. It just seems strange. It didn't change the power output any. It didn't change the plate current. It changed the grid. And I'm tuning the plate tank capacitor. That's what added in there, the blob. I don't know why that would affect the grid current that much and not affect the power output. But obviously, some of the capacitor wasn't capacitating. So I think, why don't we make this our last round for the night and say our 73s and then close out when it comes back to me. Go ahead, Mir. WF2U. No, excuse me. Go ahead, Tony. K4QE, N4LQ.
Okay, sounds good. And Steve, thank you for the suggestions. I will take that up. I think I might have a D104 or 2 out in the shed. Not sure if they're pre-amplified or not, but we can certainly fix that problem too. Anyway, hey Kurt, thank you for the audio report. I appreciate that. I know this thing sounds fine on sideband, but I've been using it on AM for the past several weeks. But when conditions are marginal, I guess it is what it is. So there you go. And Kurt, I'm so glad you joined us tonight. I see that you operate from four different locations. If you'd I didn't hear you mention how often you are in North Carolina, but I certainly hope we will hear you again. So good night to everyone, and over to you, my air, WF2U in the group from K4QE. Good night, everyone.
Roger, Tony. K4QE. And this is WF2U. Yeah, very good. 100% copy. And that's fine. Well, I would say the grid drive, probably what happened is that the short completely changes the tube operating parameters. And actually, we could probably do it if you have the tube data and you draw up the graph of the various currents versus voltage and grid current. You can calculate it even. What happens when, for example, what would happen is that the impedance on the output went down to almost nothing. With that blob, went down very low, so it couldn't match it, and that screwed up all the operating point. So that would make sense that the grid current was low. And anyway, did you see any difference, which I would imagine you would, in power output now that you don't have that short? That would be interesting, because if you don't, then you might have another problem. Anyway, but I'm glad you are doing progress with that thing. So, Kurt, also glad you could join us and try to do that more often, and I'm sure when conditions are a little bit more decent, you would be booming in here. And anyway, so it was nice to QSO with you for the first time. So go ahead, KP9, J2N. W, to you.
N4LQ, is this any better on the audio? KB9J2U?
Couldn't really tell there, Kurt. I can try listening again, though.
I did not have any treble or midtone set up on AM mode. While that may cause some consternation for some, I do like the how configurable it is. And then on the Mode AM, the P-parametric EQ is not used. It's just using the parametric EQ. So that makes that a little bit easier, but I still had neglected to set up my some of the very basic settings for AM. So let's see here. Let me see if I can answer the question. I'm in North Carolina, usually 2 months a year, sometimes 3. This year, I got here in mid-November. I'm leaving in mid-February. And I come here because my home office, my headquarters, is here in North Carolina. It's just easier to do year-end activities and year-begin activities here, as well as it's nice to be here for the holidays with my son's in Charlotte, my daughter's in Fuquay, so we just, it makes it a lot easier on us. So with that, I think I've answered the questions. I'll have to play around with my audio settings a little bit more as well. And thanks for reminding me that I have separate sideband versus AM versus FM settings, which is something that I'll have to explore a little bit more now that I'm using this mode a bit. But most importantly, thank you guys for letting me test out my new antenna and finally getting on top end after way too many years of not ever having a resonant antenna. So good ideas, and I will take that and continue to tinker and improve like most ham radio operators do. So great conversation. Hopefully I can check in again a few more nights here before I head back to West River, South Dakota, where I live in the foothills of the northern Black Hills. And I'll send it back to you, Steve, to tie the final ribbon on it, and appreciate you welcoming me in here on your net. N4LQ, KB9JQU in the group. 7-3, everyone.
Yeah, okay, Kurt, very good. I think you did help it. You got more highs, and you could even go further with it and cut down the lows even more, go into that first band and turn down the, gosh, I know there's 3 or 4 different things for each band of frequencies you can mess with. And you can probably listen to yourself on something there, though, but you just don't, you don't really need any lows lower than 200 cycles, especially 100. It needs to be chopped off. But you don't want to raise it up to 300 now. But you start at 200 and just taper it down real quick below that, and then really boost that the upper mid up around 2,000 to 3,500 or however high you can go. Really crank that up. That's going to be interesting to hear that when you finally get that set up. Check back in with us tomorrow night. I'm sure conditions will be better. I think it's going to be raining, but at least the AM on the 1860 will be gone. So that's just a one night. Saturday night is his night, and he has literally has a show, a radio show on. He broadcasts just like an AM station somehow. So I guess that's about it for the night, folks. Appreciate everybody checking in. It's been fun and enjoyable, and we'll see you, if you can make it, to the Old Friends Net on 3715 at 4 p.m. Tomorrow. This is N4LQ 73.
Hey, 7-3, Steve, and I saw what you meant. I've got those audio settings changed a little bit further. 7-3 for all, KB9JQU. I'm going to play around a little bit more.
Hey, good night, Kurt.
WQO, thanks, Steve, for running the net. WQO.